أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Alright, y'all. This is I'm a little bit behind. This is day 4 of the Black History Month. I'm on my second video for Black History Month. And on this video, we're going to talk about, I'm going off this list that I've had since I was in like high school. And now it's time to use it. So today, our person of interest is not one person, it's a group of people. And they have it termed as African on this paper. And the invention is paper, chess, the alphabet, medicine, civilization. Okay. Now they're saying Africans. Now I'm gonna go ahead and make a correction. The term African comes from a Roman general, Scipio Africanus, who was the general that defeated Hannibal Hamaculaar in the Second Punic Wars. In an area called Carthage. Carthage is in modern day Tunisia in North Africa. And they named this whenever like a general would conquer a certain like territory, they would name that area after the general. So Scipio Africanus was named basically North Africa was, and subsequently all of Africa was named after this Roman general, Scipio Africanus. So Africa, when you say Africans, that's really like I don't go by that. That's another topic of another discussion, but I don't think that's an accurate designation. So, but for the sake of this conversation, I may use it. One second, let me turn off my tea. So, hold on. So, but when they say the inventors, basically the paper, chess, alphabets, medicine, civilization was invented by people of color or black people, and that's on a whole that's true because when they say okay. So let's start with civilization. When you go back and you're talking about the Near East, like North Africa, Egypt, that area, Saudi Arabia. There's a language family. The way that you identify people is through what's called language families, language groups. So there's a language family that modern linguists call Afro-Asiatic. Afro-Asiatic consists of, and by the way, Afro-Asiatic is one of the five major language families in Africa. So Africa has Niger Congo A, which is distributed in West Africa. Niger Congo B, which is like southeastern, like the Zulu, all those people, the Nguni people, the Swahili. They're all Niger Congo or Bantu people, Niger Congo B. Then you have Khoisan people. Those are the Khoi and the San, like the Bushmen that hunt, like run up on like elephants and hunt deer and track they footsteps down for like 12, 15, 20 miles. They still live as hunter gatherers. So then you have Nilo-Saharan, which are the Maasai or the Nuba people, the very tall, dark-skinned people. And then you have Afro-Asiatic. Now, Afro-Asiatic consists of Berber, or what they call Tamazic. It consists of ancient Egyptian, so the language that the ancient Egyptians spoke. It consists of Chadic. Hausa is a Chadic language. It consists of Cushitic. Somali is a Cushitic language. And then it consists of Semitic. Now, Semitic is probably the most famous branch of Afro-Asiatic. And among the Semitic languages are like Hebrew, Arabic, Aramaic, Akkadian, Assyrian, and then interestingly enough, Amharic and Tigrinya, which are dominant languages and ethnic groups in Ethiopia, and they descend from a language called Ge'ez. And Ge'ez is a sister language of South Arabian, which was the language of the Queen of Sheba that was spoken in Yemen in ancient times. So why am I saying all this? Because linguists agree that if people of the same language family are genetically, like genealogically related, so that means all the that means all the Semitic speakers, the original Semitic speakers, are related to the original Egyptians that are related to the original Berbers, related to the original people in Ethiopia, in Chad, so forth and so on, which means they come from one original family. That's pretty dope. Now, and they say, and linguists say the further, the more diversity of languages within the language family is an indication of how long those people have been living in that geographical location. So that means that not only are those people related, but they've been living in that part of the world for a very long time, which brings us to civilization. Civilization, we could talk about the Bible, we could talk about genetics, different haplogroups, but basically, just to make it real simple, people in that time, people in that area, they basically invented writing. So the alphabet, so the hallmark of civilization was writing, astronomy, agriculture, the wheel. So obviously like paper and the alphabet, and then astronomy gives you it situates you in place and in time. So with astronomy, you can develop calendars and you can develop maps and know how to travel because you understand the stars and their location to their relative location to each other. And then so agriculture, the domestication of plants and animals, the creation of the wheel, writing, and astronomy are kind of like the main things and then astronomy leads to like math and all that stuff. But all of that stuff originated in the Fertile Crescent, in between the Nile the Nile and the Euphrates, like from Iraq to Egypt. So when we're talking about these people, we're talking about black people, but they're Semitic people. They spoke this original. See, there's been this dominant push that says that like they just to associate like Semitic languages with non-black people. And then like they divide like sub-Saharan Africa from like Egypt. But if you look at the Egyptians, if you look at all those people I mentioned, they're just really just water. They're just white people. They're just black people mixed with other stuff. Like the Berbers, the Egyptians, so a lot of the Arabs now. These are people whose lands have been colonized. So like say for example, like Egypt has been colonized by the Greeks under Alexander the Great. It's been colonized by the Romans during the time of Jesus, peace be upon him. It's been colonized by the Turks, which are like which are a lighter skinned people. It's been colonized by the British. So what and the Crusades too, the Crusaders. So the point we're making here is that we look at the people today and assume that that's the way that their phenotype represents how they looked thousands of years ago, and that's just not accurate. So that's the first thing. And it's just really interesting because they have papyrus, and they have papyrus showing that 1500 years before Christ that the Egyptians did calculus. But here's the other thing. There's paintings that show Egyptians, and they'll have like a brown skinned Egyptian with a really black Egyptian with like a lighter tan Egyptian. And basically what you're looking at is just black people. Black people always have been different complexions, have different textures of hair. but it is what it is. The other thing too is that when you go to ancient Egyptian mythology, and it talks about like Jeb and Nut, and they had children, that story correlates with the story of Adam and Eve in the Bible, and Cain and Abel, and Osiris and Horus and Set and all that, right? And like the Ma'at people will say, oh well, yeah, see, the Bible was copied from ancient Egyptian sources. Well, I think what they don't realize is that, well, I'm gonna talk about a person called in the Islamic tradition he's called Idris, but in the Christian tradition he's called Enoch. In the Egyptian tradition he's called Thoth, Thoth. In the Greek tradition he's called Hermes Trismegistus. And then he's also known in Mesopotamia. So here's the question: How is this individual? And this is all going to relate back to what I'm talking about, like the Afro-Asiatic people. How is this individual known? How is an individual like the same figure, personality, famous in all of these different cultures? And that's because at one point all of these cultures was one people. Between the time of Noah and Adam, humanity was one community, one tribe, one nation. And Enoch lived in between Noah and Adam. So he's credited in the Islamic tradition as the first person to write with the pen and to sew and to make clothes and textiles out of like fabrics. And then he's also known to know astronomy, especially like in the book of Enoch. Why am I saying all this? Because this individual was the founder of civilization. He was a prophet of God, and he brought all of this learning and development and technology to humanity. And these were people of color, man. These were dark-skinned people, but they spoke a Semitic language. And Semitic is an African language because it's a part of the Afro-Asiatic language family. So that's my point, and that's the point of this list right here. So paper, they say chess, alphabet, and then alphabet. Okay, go back. So alphabet comes from alpha beta, which is from the Greek alphabet, right? They call it alpha, beta, gamma, delta, epsilon, theta, eta, right? But that order, this is his historical consensus that the Greeks got their alphabet from the Phoenicians. And who are the Phoenicians? The Phoenicians were a Semitic black people. They were people of color, dark-skinned people. They lived in modern-day Lebanon. And then the Phoenicians were seafarers. They had technology like boat technology. So they used to trade throughout the Mediterranean, and they established a colony in North Africa, Tunisia, and created the colony of Carthage, which leads us back to Hannibal and the Romans, the Second Punic War. Do you see how it all ties in, man? And then Hannibal Hannibal was like the last black dude. When you see pictures of Hannibal, he's depicted as a black dude, but he was a Semitic person. That's my point. That's my point, bro. Hannibal domesticated elephants to be a part of his military force, and he took them into Rome during the Second Punic Wars. I say all this to say that there's more stuff underneath under the surface. Look, man, if the original human beings were black, that means everybody's black, because everybody is a descendant of the original. If all science is saying, all the scientific community is agreeing that, hey, man, all human life came from this place called Africa. That means everybody's African, dog. No matter, your skin could change, you still an African. Or, excuse me, from that continent. So that's another thing. It's time for us to start to redefine stuff. I really would love to see, inshallah, I pray that to God to give me the ability to have our own university so we can send our own archaeologists and researchers to do our own independent research. There's thousands of manuscripts. There's thousands of artifacts that have yet to be discovered or deciphered and understood properly. So if we depend on the people who's been creating this narrative and who's been giving us these definitions that are inaccurate, we're never going to be able to arrive at the truth as it should be. I say that to say the inventors of civilization started among dark-skinned people. They call it the Neolithic Revolution, the beginning of agriculture, the beginning of writing, the creation of the wheel, cities, city-states, the division of trades and specializations, agriculture, the domestication of plants and animals, astronomy, cartography, making maps, geography, understanding how to travel. No wonder human beings traveled all around the world, because they knew the stars. Duh. All right, man, I'm done, man. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم إنه هو الغفور الرحيم والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر.